For most of modern history, Finland was under the rule of foreign powers. A part of the Kingdom of Sweden for centuries, the Swedish language and other Swedish customs were forced upon the Finnish people. In 1809, Finland was ceded to Russia and became a Russian Grand Duchy, pressing the Russian language and culture onto Finland, and altogether leaving the people of Finland without an identity of their own. Amongst this cultural confusion rose composer Sibelius, who brought to Finland for the first time something that was purely Finnish, giving Finland the sense of national pride they so desperately needed to become an independent nation. John Julius Christian Sibelius was born on December 8, 1965, to Christian Sibelius and Maria Borg. He grew up in Hämeenlinna, Finland, along with his brother Christian and his sister Linda. His interest in music began as a child when he would play violin in a trio with his siblings, often writing short pieces for the three to play. In 1885, Sibelius began studies at the Helsinki Music Institute, under who would become his most influential teacher, Martin Vogelius. 1892 saw the premiere of Sibelius's first major work, Kullervo. The work is based on a story from the Finnish national epic poem, the Kalevala, focusing on one of its more tragic heroes, Kullervo. In the piece, Sibelius takes lots of influences from Finnish runos or chants, a type of folk music performed by two people sitting opposite each other while interlocking fingers and taking turns reciting verses of a poem or song, often accompanied by a kontel, a small five-stringed Finnish folk instrument. While Sibelius uses no actual folk tunes in Kullervo, the structure of the melodies, along with their rhythms and the 5/4 meter used at times throughout the work, bear enormous resemblance to Finnish runos. Kullervo features a chorus in its third and fifth movements, and the text used for the Kolo parts are taken directly from the Kalevala. This is one of the first uses of a Finnish text in a piece of music by any composer. With Kullervo, the people of both Finland and the world heard for the first time music that is genuinely Finnish. It was in Kullervo that both Sibelius and Finnish music found their identities. A number of other works by Sibelius strengthened his position as a truly Finnish composer, especially his other works inspired by Kalevala stories. En Saga, one of Sibelius' earliest works, brought into music the rhythmic monotony of Kalevala poems and runos. Other works like the Lemminkainen Suite and Pohjola's Daughter brought forth vivid musical portrayals of the Kalevala's most well-known characters and stories. Sibelius' works also painted detailed musical portraits of the rugged and ghostly Finnish landscape, heard in many of his works but seen most clearly in his 7 symphonies, with each growing off the last and painting a different picture of the Finnish countryside. Of all his works, the piece through which Sibelius became a true nationalist composer was his most influential and enduring, Finlandia. Composed in 1900 during a storm of political events, Finlandia quickly became the rallying cry for the country struggling for independence. On February 15, 1899, Tsar Nicholas II issued the February Manifesto, pulling Finland's autonomy as a Grand Duchy of the Russian Crown and putting it under complete Russian control. The appointed Russian Governor-General of Finland, Nikolai Babrikov, implemented the manifesto, and Finland was made subject to further Russian intervention. Finlandia presents a musical telling of the Russian occupation, starting out with a menacing brass motif believed to represent the menace of Russia. The piece then moves through more sweeping melodies that show the oppression of the Finnish people. A few sparks of resistance spring up in the violins, and eventually the whole orchestra moves to a triumphant anthem, depicting the struggle of the Finns with rising melodies to represent their eventual victory over Russia. The piece then takes a turn to bring forth the famous Finlandia hymn, one of Sibelius' most well-known melodies, and arguably one of the most well-known melodies in all of classical music. The stirring hymn theme of Finlandia can be found today as a hymn sung in church, or as the unofficial second national anthem of Finland. The hymn is meant to represent the ever-growing national spirit of the Finnish people, starting out quietly in the woodwinds and then eventually taken by the whole orchestra. In the triumphant and dramatic finale of the piece, the Finns eventually triumph over Russia and gain their independence. Since Finlandia is concerned with Finnish independence, it was often performed under alternate titles such as impromptu, to avoid Russian censorship. Finlandia was performed all over Europe to gain international attention and support for Finland's independence movement. It is widely considered today to be one of the most important factors that led to Finland's Declaration of Independence in 1917 by bolstering resistance, inspiring the will for independence, and unifying Finns behind the cause. During his life, Sibelius established himself as Finland's greatest composer, a belief many still hold today. He is one of Finland's most celebrated people, and his birthday is Flag Day in the country, also called the Day of Finnish Music. The Helsinki Music Institute, where Sibelius himself studied, was renamed the Sibelius Academy in 1939 to honor the composer. Until the introduction of the euro in 2002, the Finnish marka featured Sibelius on the 100 marka bill. Sibelius' works remain widely performed today and are the signature of numerous orchestras throughout the world. The legacy of Sibelius does not rest only in his music, but also in his impact on Finland. By lighting the fire of the Finnish national spirit, Sibelius gave the people of Finland an identity to call their own.